lastly,
okay.
What does all of this mean for 2024, which is now upon us? We have Donald Trump set to announce
next week.
We have Ron DeSantis hanging out there in Florida, looking very good after last night.
Yep.
We have Joe Biden on the Democratic side, looking way stronger than he was looking before last night.
Why don't we start with Biden? So,
okay.
As I said already, Biden, the most extraordinary performance for a sitting president in modern American history for a midterm, especially facing the political wins that he did at this point, basically, regardless of what happens, given the whole meta-narrative. I think easily he now has shored up his position as the presumptive Democratic nominee. As if he's alive, it's happening. As people of Pennsylvania just showed us, they don't care if you can speak or not, whether you're going to represent them. They will actually vote for you, even in a larger margin. His approval rating was not a drag on the party, so he can show definitively that. He also, and I think this is very much to his credit, if I'm him, I'm singing about abortion till the cows come home all the way till 2024. The same thing, why we need to, let's say they keep the Senate and not the House. They're like, well, we got to take back the House. We'll actually do it, guys, if you actually give us the vote. So that's something they can continue. If anything, it's probably to their benefit if they don't keep the House for that purpose. So I think Joe Biden has shored up his position. And if you were to ask me today, him versus Trump, I think it's very clear where things stand right now for the Clippers who are out there. If the election were today, it is clear to me that Joe Biden would probably win re-election, which is, I would not in the position. 48 hours ago, I would have told you that Trump is going to clean up and he would easily be president in 2024. So a stunning victory for Joe Biden in almost every sense of the word. I really, thinking in the terms of history, major turning point for him. Major.
Completely agree. Yeah. And I mean, most critically, he has really shored up his position as the next nominee. I mean, It's easy to instantly memory hold this stuff, but you had major party figures who were saying openly, we need to move on from this guy during their primaries. I mean, even leading up to the vote, Tim Ryan in Ohio said, we need a generational change. We need to move on from Joe Biden. You ain't gonna hear that anymore. The Pete Buttigiegs, the Gavin Newsoms, all those people of the world, they're gonna close up shop until after the Biden era because, I think the big thing that he always brought to the table for the Democratic base that they were convinced of is this is the electable guy. Mm-hmm. And if we want to bulwark against Trump and Trumpism and the Republican Party, listen, we may have issues, we may be getting up there in years, but this guy could actually beat Trump. That was the case that they bought into in 2020. There was a real risk for him that if he took an Obama-level shellacking in the midterms, that case no longer holds up, and then it might be off to the races. Very different picture. But since he, again, delivers the goods electorally, best performance for party in power since, the rally around the flag in 2002.
That's shocking.
Really, it is shocking, especially given the bad economy, the right track, all of those things going against him, and you turn in this performance, he's in great shape with the Democratic base, and he's in very strong shape for re-election.
I'll tell you this, if the Fed stops cutting rates and we see a booming stock market and the job market stays where it is in 2023, and let's say that he can get a negotiated settlement in Ukraine and gas goes down by 50 cents a gallon, he's cruising to re-election. There's no question about it, especially with abortion.
A lot of ifs there. A lot can happen.
By the way, put the counter on that. Let's say that Ukraine goes to shit, and we have gas goes up to 5. The bottom drops out on the unemployment rate, and it goes to 10. As Larry, what's his name? Oh my God,
Larry Summers.
Larry Summers wants it to go to. Well, then we're talking about a totally different story.
Very different deal.
I don't know. It could go either way. There's a lot of variance in our politics right now. In that scenario, I could easily see a scenario where he actually does win. So now let's move on to Trump. Horrific night for Donald Trump. His candidates all massively underperformed. But beyond his actual picks, the true weakness of Stop the Steal was really revealed.
Yes.
Doug Mastriano, as I said, he was picked by the base, people. Trump didn't endorse him until the last minute. And that's the shit that Trump unleashed. Kerry Lake barely coming across. Blake Masters also having to kiss Trump's ass in order to win. JD only winning by 6 points. Look, the case for JD was he was the guy who could win Ohio by 14 points. Trump won Ohio by 8 points. And then when you consider Herschel Walker, his candidates, New Hampshire, Bolduc, right?
Right.
All those people, all of the election deniers losing in every gubernatorial race, all the Stop the Steelers losing, who the National Democrats backed, that's a massive repudiation of the issue that matters most to Trump, most to the GOP base, but least to the overall national electorate. I think that's very, very important. For Trump's own personal strength, this is a moment of immense crisis for him. In my opinion, he has to announce as soon as humanly possible, even though it is humiliating to have the losses. And it is because he cannot allow speculation of the Ron DeSantis and the Brian Kemps, all of the world. He needs to cut it in his tracks. I don't want this to happen. I'm telling you, this is what I think he should do in his own self-interest. Announce tomorrow. Blame it on Mitch McConnell. Make up some fake reason. He can always blame Stop the Steal on Arizona and all of that. Shore up the GOP base. Force Ron DeSantis to try and challenge him. DeSantis would have to make a negative case against Trump. And again, that negative case, in my opinion, is just simply not one which is going to land with the GOP base. I don't see any evidence they care about electability. I think they love the fun, they love the ride, they love the tweets, they love pissing off the media. DeSantis simply does not have that in his repertoire. He's good at it, but he's not as good at it as Trump. So to me, the DeSantis dream, while it exists for GOP elites who really care about power, about getting stuff done, will never be able to reconcile with Trump. And this is the other thing about Trump. He wouldn't even concede the 2020 election. If he, in some world where, let's say DeSantis beats him in a narrow primary, which I don't even think is possible. You think he's just not going to run? Or he's not going to tell his people not to come home? Like, this is the gamble with Trump.
That's true.
If he's not at the top, it's chaos. He'll try and screw you over.
He will light the whole thing on fire. He was celebrating the Republican loss in Colorado last night. That's what I'm saying.
Like, he doesn't care.
He does not give a fuck.
Only cares about himself. So the Donald albatross is around their neck honestly, it's like the Chinese finger trap thing or whatever. It's like, there's no way out. You're in. It is nearly impossible to untangle yourself from that situation. And then finally, let me talk about DeSantis. DeSantis has a great case to make amongst the GOP elites on electability. Again, I don't see that case being translated to the base. And I don't want to take away from this. Being one of the most popular governors in the United States while being one national polarizing figure and winning a state that you barely won by 0.5% of the vote in 24 years later, winning it by 20 points, that is astounding. In a non-Trump environment, you are the presumptive Republican nominee, and I think he would give Joe Biden a run for his money. But I don't see a path to him for that possibility outside of Trump literally dying or Trump bowing out. Neither of which, Trump looks healthier to me. I don't know about he looks like he lost weight, to be honest.
Yeah, actually he does. Being out of the White House, probably healthier for him. I mean, I co-sign everything you just said there.
Yep.
I will say I feel a little less confident in that case than I did before these election results. That DeSantis doesn't have a shot in a primary against Trump.
Yeah, I think
because it is very compelling.
Right.
Like, you look at the story of last night, you're like, there was one state where Republicans basically did well. It's Florida. Every one of the Trump candidates was basically a total dog. The direction of the party under him was, it wasn't just the individual candidates. That's why you have these, losses at the House level, a possibility of Democratic pickup, is it wasn't just the individual candidates. It really has put a stench on the entire party. That's as clear as it could possibly be, right? So, DeSantis comes out of this with the strongest hand he possibly could have come out of last night's election results.
Right.
Now, ultimately, I agree with you that I think, those aren't the things ultimately that the base is really concerned about. Those aren't the determining factors of, okay, I'm going to, analyze this is better for the future of the Republican Party and you're more electable against Joe Biden and whatever. So I agree with you that I still think it's an uphill climb for DeSantis, even though he really did have the best possible night that he could have had. Now, okay, Trump's going to announce very soon. I think there's rallying around him. He'll have his narrative. I think blaming Mitch McConnell is probably a very savvy thing.
Exactly.
Savvy way for him to ultimately go. He already hates him. He's already trashing him publicly, so he can do that. Blame all the losses on McConnell. Cherry pick like J.D. Vance or Kerry Lake or whoever the few.
Put J.D. up there on the stage and be like, look, this guy wouldn't be here without me and the two of us.
Exactly.
All of this. It was a great night for Donald Trump. Listen, I've seen the guy in action before. Again, I interviewed him right after 2018 when he got his ass kicked in the House.
reality is no barrier for him.
Exactly.
I mean,
I saw it in front of my own eyes.
Universe, and he creates his own reality. And for the people that are existing in that universe, like, I see no sign that they're ready to break out of the Trump-created reality.
Right.
He's going to get indicted, very likely. I think it's more likely than not. You agree with that? I think that's only going to be good for him, ultimately, with the Republican base again. Now, the general election, totally different deal. I think he is incredibly unpopular. I saw the exit polls from last night had his unfavorable rating at like 63%, you know, way worse than where Joe Biden is. I mean, this man is not someone that the American people by and large want. That doesn't mean that it's not what the Republican base wants next time around. Now, I admit Kyle and I have been having this fight. If he does end up actually in prison, it does get a little bit more complicated. But even in that scenario, I don't totally put it out of the realm of possibility that he wins for the Republican nomination from sitting in a freaking prison cell.
I totally agree. I think they're all in with Trump. I think they love Trump. His favorability is an all-time high with all of them. It's about his general election appeal and all of that. But, you know, at this point, I've prognosticated on Trump every which way. I don't know.
Right.
I do not know.
People can surprise you.
What I do know is that this complicates the picture, especially at an elite level. That being said, I watched many people ditch him during Access Hollywood. The ones who stuck with him, you know, ultimately they were proven correct. I think he's going to see this as a major test of loyalty. I think, actually, you know what's interesting to me is a lot of GOP commentators are in some real trouble here. So if you have, and I'm just talking at a media level, if you've cultivated a full stop the steal audience and you have election results like this, that's a tough one to square about the Donald being the greatest figure in American politics and then being historically repudiated on a national level. I'm sure the cope will come at some point, but yeah, that's going to be a fun one, I think, to watch that happen.
Yeah, very, very true. I mean, if you are, like, clearly Republican elites want to be done with this guy.
Right.
They see very clearly
of course
this is a disaster for them and for their ambitions of power. Like, there's just no doubt about it at this point. What could you do to dislodge him from the party at this point?
There's nothing. I mean, look, they didn't impeach him. Honestly, there's nothing. I don't think it's possible. You're in. And that's just how that's just how it's
I
go.
Continue to think they maybe had a moment right after January 6th.
Right.
If Mitch McConnell had gone in hard and you really had like a circling of the wagons and you really had a concerted, coordinated effort, like, we got to cut this guy out like a cancer right now, maybe then you could have done it, because that was such a like shock to the body politic. But I continue to think when they missed that little moment and that little opening, they're, you know, in very difficult position now to be able to pull back from where they've allowed the party to go.
Right. Yeah. No, I think it's a big takeaway. It'll be fun to watch it all play out. So
yes.
Final just thing from us, Krystal. I again just want to say thank you all so much to the premium subs who enabled all of this to be possible. We're talking this morning about upgrades to the studio, about different ways that we can gear up for 2024. If you believe in our mission, if you like what we're all about, the easiest thing that you can do to help us out, we've got the 10% off right now annual subscription for going, let's say 48 hours. Let's cap it at 48 hours. The link is in, it's in the description of this video. It's in the chat. Lifetime members as well. You guys were the ones who backed us in the beginning, and for the ones who have been coming in the last several hours and others, like, you guys are the ones who are enabling that we can truly build something impressive for the 2024 election. Because what I'm watching here is that clearly, you know, the whole country is up for grabs. It's going to take a lot for all of us together to try and figure it all out. So I'm very thankful to be here with you, to have Counterpoints, to have Marshall and Kyle on deck, to have this amazing studio, to have our crew. You enable everything for us. So I can't thank you enough from the bottom of our hearts. And if you can help us out, link is down in the description. It's right there. I
mean, guys, we've been, you know, gearing up for the midterms. You know, I feel really good about what we were able to do last night. And, you know, the response seemed to be really positive in terms of what you guys thought of the stream. And, you know, now we got to gear up for 2024 because it is on. And I sort of feel like we were starting to wrap our heads around some new rules of the game in the Trump era. And now just flip the board over, totally got to go back to the drawing board of what's going on in our politics, what it's going to look like, what matters, what doesn't, how voters vote, who they're voting for, what are the coalition, I mean, everything. really is kind of up for grabs at this point, and it creates a level of uncertainty that is extraordinary. Last night was an extraordinarily strange election with patchwork results, regional results, race by race, state by state, ticket splitters. I mean, ticket splitters aren't supposed to be a thing anymore. In this hard partisan environment.
They're here. They're alive.
You got, yeah, right. You got like massive ticket splitting in Georgia, massive ticket splitting in Pennsylvania, in Ohio, state by state by state. Huge significance of people who are voting Dem on this one and voting Republican on that one. So it truly is going to be an extraordinary period, and I couldn't be more excited to have the privilege of doing it here with Saagar, with you guys. You guys have enabled it all and made it possible. We are endlessly grateful for that. So thank you.
True.
We love you guys.
All.
Oh, Ryan and Emily will be here tomorrow.
And on Friday.
And on Friday.
BP and CP every single day of this week. Again, thanks to all of you. It is very expensive in order to do this. And thank you all so much again. All right, I think it's time for us to take off. We will have clips of everything that we just did here on the channel for the rest of the day. For those of you who are watching, just, I guess technically in our own interest, you should rewatch them. But if you don't have to, if you stuck with us here through. If you missed at the top, we will be posting all of that. Everything will be available on the podcast feed. We'll go ahead and post our election audio from last night. It was 5 hours and 40 minutes, guys.
Wow.
Which is totally
amazing.
Insane. We'll post that as a podcast in its own right. And then this audio, we'll go ahead and publish it right after we're done here in the studio. We love you all, and we'll see you later.
See y'all on Monday. Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.